Hello, YouTube. This is Augustus Larch, and I have to do a short vlog on aliens are a cover story. Aliens and UFOs are a cover story, and why. Anyway, I've had a subscriber message me a lot on the YouTube, and he keeps going on about these aliens and stuff, and then I bring up stuff like Project Monarch, and look at how the establishment has a freaking hold on people's minds and bodies. And if you don't know who Project Monarch is, it's probably got a longer tradition than from World War II, but the Nazis had a heck of a budget and unlimited bodies to work on subjects, and they really tweaked it in recent times, and it's more at play than anything that's coming across the vast of space. But at night, I listen to Coast to Coast AM because I have a little problem with insomnia. And what I always get on the show is their information isn't canonized. George Norrie and George Knapp and Ian Punnett, they have a lot of these guests on, but I don't know if they got enough time to actually read really carefully, study and compare all the stuff that's happening, with their guests and their information that's coming over the airwaves. It's mostly entertainment. It isn't set up in like a syllabus style, giving people scheduled and structured info so their brain can build something, accumulate a piece of objective knowledge. It's mostly entertainment. But for the one person that's on there is Michio Kaku. He's figured out all these classes of civilization, and he equals the mainstream population on Earth is a class 0 civilization, because we still dig stuff out of the ground and have to light it on fire to get energy. And they'd like to say they go off on the oldest alien stuff. And how about Occam's razor? The simplest explanations, most likely the truth. Instead, they get into this folklore stuff with the aliens and the UFOs. And the more you study, the more questions come up. That's kind of a cue that it's a cover story. So, who's really in control here is the establishment. And I'll get into that later. Another thing they have is what I know, when they did the Human Genome Project, they found out that a great large majority of human DNA is inactive. They call it junk DNA. There's big pieces in the sequence that are gone. And out in nature, with animals and other populations of living things, when they look at their DNA, there isn't a lot of junk DNA. They can figure out what everything does. And again, to Occam's razor and my intuition, this points me to the fact that there's been a eugenics campaign going on for millennia. And there's another class of people, human beings, that most likely founded all of the mainstream bulk of the population as we know it today. And they like keeping people down. They like people to keep people like animals at their feet. This class of people, and they have their little minions and yes men that they position in the world to just lead us around and keep us distracted and scattered. And what are they hiding? They're hiding what they have. They have suppressed technology. There's such stuff as zero-point energy and being efficient, making efficient machines on another. Look at how much friction a machine has. Maybe it gets a big proportion of its power is just wasted in friction and lateral movement and such things like that. There's stuff out there. I mean, people talk about UFOs. It's just suppressed technology is what it is. There's a person named Nikola Tesla. He had proposed all this and engineered all these things independently, really, because he was a brilliant electrical engineer, and he freed himself from locking his mind into saying, what kind of trinkets can I sell to these people? I'm going to mete out, even if there is this suppressed technology, I'm going to follow the whims and wishes of my handlers and say, we're just going to mete out enough technology to keep the unwashed masses enthralled and not really give them anything to give them a foothold on rising to that class 1 status that we're at. Like that movie with Roddy Piper, They Live. There's a lot like that. I mean, these people, those are establishment people. The show might be a little Hollywood and a little bit for the movies, but look at the core message there of what they do to people's minds. And I've noticed that the prominent people in my community that people say are successful, they really don't have a logical, rational way of thinking from day to day. They're just not blacklisted, and they just are networked to the degree around their little community that they have a alright, easy time with things compared to some other people they know, and that's all they can do is compare the people that are really not doing well to themselves, and they have no idea the scale of what they could be up to, but they're still locked into that little small talk, let's get lost in our little social networks here type of thing, instead of actually working together as a community and letting everybody in on what's actually happening, you know. When people talk about, oh, they're coming from beta reticuli and all those other things with machines, these people have no idea of the vastness of space, mathematically, how big it is out there, how large it is, and how convoluted. If it's not big, it's convoluted. And there's long, twisty, convoluted hallways based on a Fibonacci sequence of spheres. Look up Fibonacci geometry on Wikipedia sometime, or any place else if you don't like Wikipedia. Nature has a structure, and I believe that structure carries over, scaling up, scaling up, scaling up to the scale of the universe. And there's most likely a multiverse. And if there is other forms of life or above us, they're probably not substantial in this existence. You know what I'm saying? And they probably don't need a machine to get here. And why in the world would they come here to a prison planet where the ruling class of people, like the establishment and the people that direct the establishment, I call them the super establishment, have got us locked into this, being distracted and like rats in a freaking maze. That's how they got people going. People are so concerned about how their sports team is doing. If God is gonna really like them after they die. What kind of political discussion is the prevailing thing to chase your tail with that day? You know, things are inconsequential. Meanwhile, I see machines flying above me here, because I live in kind of a rural area, and they perform quite well. And I think this is their little playground up here, because there isn't anybody who can really, there's less people, they can't knock on their door's neighbor and say, check out this stuff. I don't have that ability here, you know? Again, with the Occam's razor, is it more likely that throughout the vastness of space, that little green men and machines would come here to this planet where our super elite, our super establishment ruling class has got us like livestock? I mean, they don't need to enslave our butts with chains anymore. They can enslave our mind with the television and the radio and the newspapers that have lost the concept of journalism and objectivity long time ago. Okay? What's possible? Back in the 1880s, Nikola Tesla, a brilliant electrical engineer, he developed something called a gasless airship. And it was all due to something called a geodynamic refraction coil, which all that is an antenna that coalesces the electromagnetic energy from the Earth, puts it through some coils, and makes it into usable electric current. Think about that if you had just a series of coils and in a mechanism pretty small, that once you turned it on and let it start getting an electrical signal, that it would make electric current as much as you wanted. And what did they do with that current? They've resonated speakers, big speakers around 60 hertz. What they can do with that is create a standing wave. This is a class 1 sky chamber, gasless airship or flying saucer, what have you. And it depends on a fluid mass. And all it does is stack standing wave of air. And if you've ever seen a speaker on a car system stereo, how they can put stuff on the metal surface and it pretty much levitates from the sound. If you have it tuned right, you can get that to lift you off the ground and propel you in any direction you want, really fast, more efficiently than burning petroleum in a friction machine. That's what it is. Most of it is friction, gets lost in friction and heat. Instead of having electric current pumping through generators to make your lift and your propulsion. It's just one example of what's possible. And the thing with the UFO abductions and the Betty and Barney Hill, in the 50s, there's a lot of disposable income, new disposable income, after they take the shackles off of the war, world war. Of course people are going to have more money. Because war is a cost. It doesn't help the economy at all. All the war did was give everybody on the same page, doing something that was probably going to, that was really hurting them. But think of all the garage hobbyists, the electrical enthusiasts, that knew about Tesla and copied his stuff. All these men in dark suits, you know, the human Dobermans of the super establishment, blacklisting people, putting snares in their path, figuratively and literally, and abducting people. They got stuff. They can put stuff in your water and accumulate chemicals in your body, and all they have to do is throw a switch on your power grid, and it'll create a catalyst in your system, and all of a sudden you're a zombie. You know, just like throwing a switch. And they say, oh, we sucked you through the roof of the house. No, they didn't. They probably wiped everybody in the house out systematically and dragged you out and did medical experiments on you. And then installed in maybe hypnotic suggestion in your brain that aliens came and got you. So, stuff to consider, you know. Occam's razor. Look out in the world. Look at the establishment. Look at the prominent people in your community. And they're nobody special. All they're doing is following the rules set about by the establishment. Really. And they're not really good rules. They're just like, they're keeping us down. They're keeping us like animals at their feet. So, something to consider. Thanks for watching. This is Augustus Sarge.